Welcome to Search for Signs. My name is Gary Willing. If this information interests you, please press the like and subscribe button and press the bell for notifications. Let's say in the not so distant future, when you see Maitreya out on TV, or he's talking to a group of people in, let's say, the Middle East, right? And these people in the Middle East are like, "Oh, you're the Imam Mahdi, come back again. Oh, the Imam Mahdi, the Imam Mahdi." What you're going to see is Maitreya downplay it and kind of not shut it down, but he's going to shut it down in his own way, right? In a very loving way, right? But what he's going to say to them is, no, I don't like that name. Because if I'm the Imam Mahdi for the Muslims, then what about the Christ for the Christians? What about them? Or the Messiah for the Jews? What about them? Or if he's in the United States, right, and he's traveling around the United States, and you have some people who are like, large groups of people that are like, "Oh, you're the Christ, come back. I knew it, the Christ is coming back. I knew he would fulfill his promise," right? He's going to downplay it. I don't want to be called the Christ. Because if I'm the Christ for the Christians, then what about the Hindus? What about the people who don't have any faith, right? He's going to tell them, I just want to be called the teacher. Because that's closer to who he really is. It's just a teacher. And when people try to get devoted to him, and they follow him, like, I don't know if you ever saw the movie Forrest Gump, right? And he's just running across the country, and all these people started following him, right? Just because they thought he had all the answers, right? Well, when people start to follow him like that, he's going to tell them, don't follow me. Because when you follow me, you've already lost me. When you try to put me in your pocket, you've already lost me. That's not me. And that's the problem with religion today, is people follow what they think the Christ is, and they've already lost him. The Christ is a living presence that's been on this planet working behind the scenes to help transform the hearts and minds of the people ever since Jesus was in Palestine 2,000 years ago. It hasn't left, right? Now, it's a huge leap for most fundamentalists, whatever, to see their awaited teacher for everyone else, because so many people see, let's say if you're a fundamentalist Christian, you don't bother to read the Quran, so you have no clue what they're talking about, right? And if you're a fundamentalist Muslim, you have no clue what the fundamentalists Hindus are thinking, right? But they're all awaiting a teacher to come back at some point. Now, what I'm advocating, and other people are advocating, Benjamin Creme and so forth, and other people are saying that teacher is already here and has been here for quite a bit of time, but is already out on TV. For the first time in history, is out on TV talking to humanity, not declared as that teacher, but just declared as one of us. Now, so when you, like I said, when you see Maitreya, he's not going to want devotees. And you see any of these masters, the Master Jesus is the same way. He's going to say, no, I don't want you to follow me like that. I don't want you to worship me. If you're going to be devoted to something, be devoted to helping, the hungry around the world. Be devoted to that. Let that be the limit of your devotion. But he doesn't want devotees. Sai Baba didn't want devotees. Krishna didn't want devotees. The Buddha didn't want devotees. They only want you to follow your own heart. Because the Christ principle sits within the hearts of all of us. It's just a measure of how we manifest it at this time is where we're at. Now the masters, for instance, manifest it moment to moment. We manifest it however often we manifest it, it just depends on the person. But it's not perfect, because that's what makes us human. Maitreya doesn't only manifest it, he also embodies that energy. That's what the distinction between a Christ and a regular master is. The difference between a master and a person, average person, is the masters manifest it moment to moment perfectly. We might manifest it, a few minutes here, a few minutes there, or whatever like this. But eventually we start to do it more and more to where we'll eventually be perfect at it too. But Maitreya actually embodies it. Now, it's a huge stretch for a fundamentalist Christian to see the Christ and Jesus as two separate individuals. I mean, they're not separate, everything's one, but to see them as two different entities. Now, because what resonates within my heart as truth is the esoteric teachings of Alice Bailey and Benjamin Creme, it's not a big stretch. It actually makes a lot of sense. So, but esoterically, the truth of the matter is that the Christ is a different master than Jesus. Jesus was only the Christ for 3 years between the baptism and the crucifixion. But like I said, when you see Jesus out on TV, you can ask him. If he tells you something different, believe him, because he knows more about the situation than I do, right? But we all misinterpret the teachings of the masters because we're people, we're human, right? Just a level of how much we misinterpret it, right? Now, when you see Maitreya out and about, and he tells the people, I don't want to be known by that name, just want to be known by the teacher. He's also going to say, just know me for my priorities. Know me for what I say, right? And his priorities are right now, above all, is the establishment of peace. Now, the problem is that most of us don't know how to get peace. We all want peace. You know, I know even in the United States, right? For instance, you talk to the most red-blooded American, you know, sleeps with a loaded gun under their bed or whatever, right? The way that they see a measurement of peace is more weapons, more military, more American presence around the world. If they're a Trump supporter, then of course build the wall. That's going to create more security here in the United States. It's not going to create it. And I can speak with some certainty about this because if you look at it over the last 50, 60, 70 years, the United States has tried to do this militarily around the world, and it hasn't created any peace whatsoever. In fact, it's only helped to destabilize the world in a lot of ways. The end results of this Pax Americana type of policy, political policy, is terrorism, political and economic instability, debt, mass immigrations, illegal immigrations across borders, not only in the United States, but in Western Europe and so forth. So it hasn't done anything to create any kind of security or any kind of peace around the world. Now, Maitreya is here to inspire and galvanize us to build a brilliant golden civilization based on righteousness and truth. That brilliant golden civilization must, above all, have the establishment of peace. So he is going to inspire and galvanize us to create peace in the world. Now, Maitreya is going to tell you it's super simple. The only thing we have to do is share the excesses that our country has, let's say the United States, with the developed world. And by doing that, it's going to, one of the outcomes is people won't be hungry anymore. 2, it's going to start to create trust around the world. Because then those countries, once their economies start to improve, they can take whatever excesses they have and give it back to the United States as payment for their original, sharing. And it'll be kind of a lease lend thing. Now, if you're a red-blooded American, oh, that's communism, that's socialism. Well, actually it isn't. Well, it's a little bit of socialism, but we've already done that as a country. Historically, it's already happened. And it happened right after World War II. Now, I don't know why this isn't really taught in the schools around the world, in American history or whatever, but it was. It was called the Marshall Plan. And George C. Marshall, who was the Secretary of State, he was one of the generals in World War II, but he eventually became the Secretary of State, came up with a wonderful plan to help rejuvenate the economies of Western Europe, because Western Europe was decimated after World War II. And now you can't even really tell that World War II had happened, But what he did was they took some of the excess building products, food, clothing, whatever it is that we had in excess, automobiles, I don't know, and gave it freely to the Western nations around the world, or Western nations of Europe. And then once their economy started to rebuild, they gave something back to the United States. And it only happened over a short period of time, unfortunately. If it had been going on, more globally and for a longer period of time, we'd be living in a much different world today than we were then. But the outcome of it was more trust and more stability amongst those nations and a better economies of Western Europe. It rebuilt the Western European nations. It also helped to rebuild the United States. It created jobs for the United States and so forth. It was just the outcome, the outcome of it was just very, very positive. And even to this day, we trust those nations more than we trust any other nations on the planet. We don't trust them perfectly, but we trust those nations above any other nations around the world. So if we just did that with, let's say, Iran or North Korea, and North Korea paid us back for helping their economy out or whatever like this, it would transform our relationships with those nations that we historically hate, So, we weren't always friends with the Brits, historically, the United States, right? But we are closer with Britain now than we've ever been because of that. Now, that Pax Americana view around the world has led to, like I said, led to terrorism, led to instability. It's led to other countries hating us more, even Western European nations distrusting us now because of this. So it's not a good thing. But Maitreya is going to help prioritize the way that we get to peace. He's also going to say that if you want a better environment and you want to save our planet, we have to create peace first, because you can't do it, a country can't do it alone. So China couldn't do it and every other nation not do anything about it, right? We have to do it globally. So we have to create peace first in order to help the environment. Now, the time is coming when it'll be too late to save our environment. So this whole establishment of peace will happen rather quickly. Whether it's perfect or not is immaterial, but it has to be better than it is today, right? But those two things need to be done before we can tackle anything else. And so Maitreya is going to synthesize all these different viewpoints of all these different disparate groups that want the change in the world. He's going to synthesize them into one powerful voice to where any nation, whether it's the United States or Western Europe or India or Russia or China or whatever, will not be able to withstand the power of the people. Because the masters in Maitreya will tell you that the people are actually ahead of their governments in terms of wanting change. But the governments aren't going to change on their own. We have to do it ourselves. But that's where Maitreya comes in. He's going to galvanize those groups to action, and to synthesize all these different viewpoints and different disparate groups that are trying to save the whales, save the manatees, do this, do that, into the most important thing, which is the establishment of peace through sharing, and then turn that attention to saving the environment. But he's also going to be the mouthpiece and the voice of the people too. So when we can't articulate it ourselves, he's going to articulate it in a way that's going to remind us of what we really want, which is unity, brotherhood, cooperation, oneness, those kind of things. So that's really where he comes in. So he doesn't really want devotees. He doesn't want followers in that way. He just wants you to want for the world what he wants for the world, which is peace above anything. Sharing of the world's resources. He wants people that want justice. So if you're a Christian and you're a devout Christian, he's going to tell you, be a Christian. Don't change, but just be a Christian who wants, sharing around, wants everyone to go to bed with, not hungry in the world, right? If you're a devout Muslim, he's going to say, hey, if you're a devout Muslim, stay a Muslim. Just be a Muslim that wants justice in the world, or so forth, right? So that's where you're going to see Maitreya when you see him on TV. He's just going to be reminding people of that. But he's going to shut down any kind of talk about who he is as the Christ or the Mahdi or whatever. He's going to, no. That's why he's doing what he's doing on TV today, not declaring himself as that. He's flying in under the radar, so he doesn't want people to notice who he is. He just wants you to kind of like hear what he's saying and warm up to the idea that, hey, yeah, we should have peace. But how do we get there? Share the world's resources. I never thought about that. And then hear it again, and then hear it again, and then hear it again, and then hear it again. And then over time, your heart's going to tell you that what he's telling you is true. So that's kind of where we're at today with it. And as always, take action. Help SOP save our planet. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to talking to you again in future videos. Have a great day.